Hey people, what's going on? It's Wednesday, the 20th of July. And like I told you, I have a very special guest with me today. Someone I was very happy to become friends with a few years ago. Drummer and musician and wonderful guy, Greg Eklund. Welcome to my channel, Greg.
It's good to be back in your house, sort of.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. We had some good times, your place and mine, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And it's a little weird because I do watch your daily sort of YouTube videos as well. So, seeing as how, gosh, it's been almost 4 years since I moved away, it still feels like somehow there's a connection, and then it's even weirder to be talking to you now live on this. So
Yeah, it is. And it's like I forget how long it's been, but 4 years.
yeah,
How is Alina and the boys? How are they doing?
they're doing good. You know, Des is 20.
Wow, wow,
I know, and Decker's 13, so he's a
wow.
teenager too, and Decker's really into basketball, and Des was went to the University of Minnesota for like 2 years, but not really sure what he wants to do. So he's taking a year off right now, and we'll
Hmm.
see if he goes back or if he finds a greater passion than college right now. But we'll see.
Well, I wish them the best of luck. So, on behalf of the people watching, of course, your biggest claim to fame historically has been that you were the drummer with the original Everclear,
Yes.
which was the 90s, right?
Yeah, we're talking about moving 4 years ago being a long time. Yeah, it's been. Let's see. I left the band in 2003. So what is that? Like 19?
Yeah, 19 years. But
Yeah.
but besides that, you've been playing with Storm Large. You've been with her for how long now?
I've been with her. I think I played with her for 12 years, but I took a break. Well, COVID made everyone take a break, and
No
so
doubt, no doubt.
so
Yeah.
there was a year and a half there where there was no touring, and I was trying to decide, well, geez, so much has happened. COVID happened, George Floyd happened. Just a lot of stuff was going on in the world
Yeah.
and in my life, and I started to have these sort of feelings that I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep touring. Not the playing aspect and not Storm and her band. Those people are my best friend. They're like family.
Yeah.
But just the constant flying, taxi cabs, just constantly being in motion. And I've done it since I was the age of 24. So it's
Man,
been
yeah.
30 years. So I don't know if I would have had to make this decision had COVID not happened, but because COVID forced everyone to take a break, I suddenly started going, maybe if there's ever going to be anything else I do in my life,
Hmm.
it needs to kind of start pivoting fast. I guess
Uh-huh.
it's midlife crisis kind of thing, but it's not
Yeah.
about sports cars and stuff.
Hmm.
It's about like, what else am I going to do?
Right. So you're not on the road right now with her?
No, yeah. So she called up. We had a year and a half with no shows, and I was trying to make up my mind, but there was no pressure to make up my mind. And so when she called and said we've got shows, I said my mind was made up like that. I just said, you know what, Storm, I don't think I can do it anymore. And with everything that's been going on here in Minneapolis and the world and COVID and all of that, I was starting to have like panic attacks and stuff here.
Wow.
I just said, you know what? I don't want to be out having a panic attack on a plane or in a hotel room yet again, So I just kind of decided to stick around close to home. And then my wife, of course, goes, well, great, let's travel. And I go, no,
That sounds like Alina. It does.
she's like, oh, you're done with music? Okay, let's go
Here we
travel. And I go,
go.
no, no, no.
That's funny. So bless you, bless you. Well, if you don't mind recapping just a little bit of your life in music. So one thing I was telling people as I was getting ready for this interview is that you probably have an impression of who Greg is because of the band Everclear, and that would be incorrect,
Hmm.
you know. And I just, in a way, after getting to know you, it's like you're a survivor of the music industry in some ways.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah. I've been really, really lucky that when something's come to an end and I'm sitting there going, gosh, I never graduated college or anything. So I just have a high school education. And I'm sitting here and something has just ended. Something's always come along that
Hmm.
in music that has allowed me to continue. So I've been really, really lucky to have been able to do it for 30 years.
No doubt.
But yeah, no, I started with Everclear, and the funny thing is that's so long ago now. There's like two generations since then that some people don't even know anything about that. You know, it used to be when that was still sort of fresh, but
Yeah,
it's been a
yeah,
long time. But I started with them, and right before they got signed, and we were playing bars and worked our way up to
yeah, yeah. You
arenas
really, you
and
know the deal. You worked hard. You know the deal. It wasn't something handed to you on a silver platter. It was
mm-mm.
hard work, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. You know, there's a lyric in my solo record that I released that talks about the experience of leaving Everclear and trying to come back and be a normal family man again. But there's a line in there that says something like, "I'm not going to say it was hard, but it sure wasn't easy."
Well said.
You know what
Well
I mean?
said.
Like
Yeah,
when you're doing
yeah,
what you love, when you're doing your passion, you know what they say, it's not work or whatever. But you know, we were doing 270 shows a year and
yeah,
being gone 3, 4, 5 months at a time.
yeah. That's heavy. That's insane.
Yeah,
You,
yeah.
Now, I want to touch on the fact that when I got to know you, Greg, I was surprised and pleased to find out your love and connection to island music, reggae. And as a drummer, you are really into rhythm, which to an outsider that only maybe knows the Everclear records would have no idea. But you're a real music lover.
Yeah, well, I mean, I started playing drums as a kid. I lived in England,
Yeah.
so for 3.5 years, from 1978 to 1982. So those are the formative years of when you start, or at least generally when you start listening to music, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
time period. So growing up there, I became a drummer because I saw Adam and the Ants on TV, and he had two drummers, and I
I
thought,
remember that story. Yeah.
and that was incredible. But you know, the stuff that was literally on the radio in England at the time, stuff like, you know, there was stuff like Boney M and ABBA and, you know, Rod Stewart and stuff, but there was also um, you know, the Jam, the English Beat, the
Yeah.
Selector. So I got into all of that, the specials. I got into that initially,
Hmm.
and then of course it's, you know, you just start finding out where that music came from, and then
Right.
you end
Right.
up back in Jamaica. So my wife's from Ellie's from Oakland, so she's always had a real sort of soul. She's always loved soul,
Hmm.
but to me, I didn't grow up with soul, so I grew up with sort of ska and Jamaican.
Right.
So to
Right.
me, that kind of the old stuff
Hmm.
is like my soul. So
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So yeah, it doesn't feature in anything that I play. It doesn't,
Hmm.
you know, I don't, there's no influence on my playing necessarily other than perhaps a bigger, broader worldview. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's one thing I wanted to share. Is I was saying to folks that I'm known for my taste, which is kind of eclectic, and so Everclear was pretty mainstream.
Yeah.
But I noticed you guys at the time, not so much for art songs, but I noticed the groove.
Yeah. You know, it's, it's, they were definitely his songs, and he came from a country background, country punk rock background. So
Hmm. Hmm.
there's definite ties to that. He was really into X and John Doe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely think the very first record that I played on Sparkle and Fade, which was the first major label record, I would say about half of those songs were written before I came in.
Yeah. Hmm.
There we go. Yeah. So they're a little bit more straightforward,
Hmm.
but so much for the Afterglow, the second major label record.
Right.
That's one that I was there from the beginning on, and
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
it does feature a lot more of my typical type groove stuff that's not so.
Yeah. And in retrospect, this is actually a very consistently good pop album. It is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was it was a fun time. It was a fun time. It was still fun within the band, and there was, you know, we were still trying to prove stuff to the world. So there was a real sort of camaraderie to it. Later on, it didn't become so much that, and it was just like, this isn't fun anymore. I've got to go. But yeah,
It's almost unavoidable to a degree when you are on a trajectory where you start off small and things get just kind of out of hand. It's almost unavoidable in a way, isn't it?
yeah, and exactly. And they're baby steps. You know, it's like, what was that term, boiling the frog or whatever? It's baby
Hmm.
steps, so you don't realize it. You know, and so
Yeah.
people are like, "What's it like to play in front of 300,000 people?" And it's like, truthfully, it was the same as the day before, you know. But when you're playing bars or clubs or in your basement or whatever, the concept of 300,000 people, but you don't start at 300,000 people. You start
Right.
at 5 people, your friends, you
Right.
know, and it kind of builds to that level. But the thing, after I left the band and wasn't sure what I was going to do, I wanted to see if I could play guitar and maybe write some songs and stuff. And so I did. I started a band with my brother and this woman, Ollie Stone, Olivia Stone.
The Ulas.
Oola.
I was gonna show them, but the CDs are buried somewhere.
Oh,
I've
well,
still got them.
the thing that was amazing for me is I figured out that I could do it because I just wasn't sure about it. But to go back to what you were mentioning, like the big success of Everclear, it was really soul healing to come back to that and play bars to 10 people and to get 2 drink tickets and to stay everyone crammed in a motel room, out in Nevada or something. Like, to me, people were like, is that a big adjustment? I loved it because at the end of Everclear, it was just too much.
No doubt. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, so it was amazing to get back and be like, I got 2 drink tickets, Yeah. And sometimes they would give us salad with our pizza at dinner time, So
exactly.
So that made it fun again, that really cleansed my palate because I was really kind of bitter and that's one of the reasons why I started to play guitar too, is that I just didn't want to have anything to do with drums. It just kind of left a little bit of after the Everclear experience, a bad taste. But I ended up playing drums on the record because we kept rotating through people so much. I finally just said, okay, I'll do it. I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't want to do any recording of the drums. I want someone else to do it. But it's not even a Spinal Tap thing. It just never happened. And the way we recorded it was always in my garage over time. So just, it was like we could spend 3 months finding someone to do it, or I could just spend 3 minutes, jump back there and do it myself.
Jump back to it.
Yeah.
Which brings me up to this album, your solo album, Up in Piers.
Yeah.
How I think this is really good, and I just kind of wondered, Greg, how has it been for you? This seems like is a very personal statement. These songs. Yep. To be honest, the first song, it's almost, I was listening to it closely the other day and I thought, my goodness, am I supposed to even be hearing this? It's so personal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so then I started that record when I moved to Omaha because the kids were in school, Ellie had a job. And when I wasn't touring with Storm, I had the house to myself,
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, so now I can make noise in the basement. And I started to write these songs and I just, as they came together, I write weirdly. I don't sit down with a guitar and write a song. I record as I go. And so I don't really have a clear view of what the songs are until they really are almost finished stages and stuff. And so as I started to complete these group of songs, I realized that there was kind of a theme running through them. And that if you put them in a certain order, it basically told the story of me leaving Everclear and coming home and trying to adjust to a quote unquote civilian or natural father life, So so it is really personal, but there were times when I was like, gosh, I don't know if I should do this, but because it is allowing so much out. But I was also listening to, and I was thinking about this the other day, but Beyonce's Lemonade record.
Yeah, you turned me on to that. You made me listen to it.
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I was listening to that a lot when I was touring with Storm, and there's themes to those songs, and there's obviously she's describing certain events in the life, but it seemed revealing. I don't know how much of it is true, but it seemed, so I kind of got some courage from that. And so I put the record out, and then at some point, I wanted to finish it in Omaha. The guy that mixed the Ulas, his name's James Brown, and he's just an amazing guy. But since the time he mixed the Ulas until the time I asked him to mix my record for free, by the way, because I had no money, I was like, oh, please.
Yeah.
He had become a really big deal. So it took a while for him to do me this favor. So I was just sort of waiting, because my thing was way down on his list.
Yeah.
And he was working with the Foo Fighters and Butch Vig and all this stuff. So anyway, so it took a while, and then we moved here, and I didn't record any more of it here, but it ended up being mixed and mastered while I was here. And so then I was going to put out a big push and put it out on my own label. He's just the drummer. And, but then George Floyd happened and COVID happened, and all of a sudden it was just sort of like, I was putting a band together to play live with it. And then all of a sudden it was just like, it just seemed the most insignificant thing in the world to have a autobiographical record about leaving a rock band and coming home. Like, it just,
I understand.
So it all just kind of went through, but I still put it out because to me, it's a statement that something I'm really, really proud of. And if people want
Yes.
to have it, they can have it. You know, it's not going to sell
Yes.
a million copies or anything,
Right.
but it's for me, it was an artistic statement I need to make in order to move on to whatever I do next.
Beautiful clear vinyl too.
Yeah, yeah.
So a couple things, Greg, I'm not surprised to hear you describe the recording process, because the songs, it's like there's a lot of variety to the music on this album. You know,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, you know, the thing is too, is that I wrote them all. I played everything on the record. I recorded it myself. The only thing I had some guy mix it for me, James Brown, thank goodness.
He did a great job. Seriously, I was just like, wow, this is really this booms out of the stereo.
Yeah, well, he did the same thing with the Ulaz recordings, because I recorded those in our garage in LA with Mark and Ollie, and so he knows probably my things that I do badly in my self-recording, so he knows how to fix it all up. But I said to him, listen, I want you to make it sound better, but I don't want it to be perfect. I don't, if the tempos are a little weird, or if there's a mishit somewhere, or something's out of tune or something, that's fine, because really, I once showed Ellie, my wife, a recording of a drum loop that I had done that I'd cut up, and I hadn't, people who don't know music softwares, this is going to be really boring, but I didn't crossfade any of the cuts,
Yes, right.
And I pushed play, I just wanted her to hear the beat. And she goes, oh, that's great. And then I go, yeah, I got to crossfade those things so you don't hear the did it. She goes, why? Why are you doing that? And I go, well, so that way people don't hear it, so they know it's not a cut groove. And she goes, but it is a cut groove, so why don't you just leave it there? It's just part of what it is, right? And
exactly.
So I can't remember if I left it that time, but since then I have left things where I'm just like, this is what it is. And sometimes you never know on those beats and stuff, sometimes a little flutter or something ends up playing into the beat anyway. So
totally,
happy accidents.
Yeah.
But because I was recording it all myself and doing all that stuff, I was able to do it over a long period of time. There was no record label being like, we need it out by Christmas, so you can be touring in the spring or any of that stuff. It was just me putting the record out and funding it. And so it was fun to, and the photos and stuff on the insert is all family photos. And, so it's an artistic statement. I don't know. I hate concept records. I hate people going, I had a story and I wrote. So I'm slightly embarrassed by it, but at the same time,
no, not at all. This is wonderful.
I wouldn't change any of it. Yeah.
No, and I love seeing my name in the credits too. Thank you for thanking me. I love you.
Yeah.
Love you for that. So, so how can people buy this? Because I'm sure that at least a couple people watching this are going to want to get a copy of this. Is this available?
Yes, it is. It's on my Bandcamp, which I had to write down because I'm so non-tech savvy.
Okay.
As everyone out there probably already knows it, but it's just gregeklund.bandcamp.com.
And I'll put it in the notes below the video so folks can go there easily.
Sure. It's also on, if you don't do vinyl, digitally, it's on iTunes and Spotify and all that. But
yeah. So are you not playing these days at all?
No, not. Oh, the other thing is I went back to school. So my son and I were both at University of Minnesota I was only taking 2 classes because I have, work and stuff I got to do. But, my neighbor 2 houses down from me was like, oh, I write songs. And I was like, oh, okay. Why don't you give me, let me hear some. And I was just thinking, it's just neighborly thing to do, but he had really great songs, and he, like me, played like everything on them in his basement, and his are way more involved than my 3 chords and stuff. So I was like, wow, this is really great. So I said, if you ever need a drummer, so COVID was in the middle of COVID, so nothing happened, but I played a show with him a couple weeks ago at a small place here, and that's been fun. That's
cool.
Been fun, doing his songs and doing that. And I still have probably 3/4 of a record in the can that I'm still working on too. But, like I said, since COVID and George Floyd, I don't know, there hasn't been a huge pressure.
And that's good, Greg, and I want to share with the people that was what I picked up about you when I met you through Ellie, that you're a genuinely decent man. You're a decently caring human being. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some people just seem to be cut off at the heart, but I noticed that about you and connected with you on that human level. You're a real decent guy. You give a damn.
Yeah. Well, I think there's this huge lack of humanity going on right now in the world.
Boy, no kidding, man.
We just got to be nicer to each other. And you know, I know there's everybody's got different points of view and stuff, but I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
just don't be an asshole. You know, just treat people with respect and try to understand where they're coming from.
I don't know why it's so hard, you know?
Yeah, I don't know either, but boy, it sure seems like it's way harder. I mean, you know, it's funny because if you think back 10 years ago, we used to think, oh, it's just a terrible time and Bush and his
Hmm.
president and all this kind of, maybe that
Hmm.
was longer than 10 years ago, but you know, but god damn, compared to now, everything's just gotten worse and everybody's more angry and
Yeah.
more, you know,
Yeah.
just dug into their own position.
It's worse than Twilight Zone. It really is, you know. So,
And now we're not even based in reality. So it's who
yeah,
knows where everything's gonna end up. But
no doubt. You know, and that affects me actually. As you know, I'm still doing music and I'm in a band that tours, David Nance, but I declined to go out this last time because of COVID and all this other shit. It's like, I don't know, I want to be traveling around that,
yeah,
you know, now.
right, right. Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's, you know, that's, and the COVID thing seems like it gets better, and then suddenly we've got a new variant. And
Right, right.
you know, when I was putting my band together to perform Muffled Tears, I had great guys here in Minneapolis, and we had our very first rehearsal, and you know, first rehearsals are nervous, and they're playing my song, so I was like,
Right.
oh, and then I was apologizing because they're so easy, and these guys are obviously better musicians. But anyway, at the end of the night, we're like, I said, "Are you guys cool? Do you want to keep doing this?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, we're gonna do it." And then, so we agreed to meet the next week, and during that week, the governor of Minnesota shut the state down because this is right when COVID was like really happening. You know, like
Yeah.
we had one practice, one practice, and then we didn't practice for a year. And then I said, well, then when everything settled down on the COVID front, I said, well, maybe we could get together. And yeah, and I said, you still want to do it? And they said, yeah, of course. So we got together and we practiced 3 times, and then all of a sudden another spike in the thing, and then all of a sudden people had to leave town because they couldn't work their jobs here. And so it just kind of fell apart. So
Yeah.
and then I don't really see the incentive to try to, you know, it's a lot of effort to work up a band and then I don't know, then go play a crowded bar. I don't know. And now COVID seems to be bouncing back. So
But you know what's cool to me, Greg, is it sounds to me like you're totally comfortable with where you're at in your life, which is the most important thing. You don't have anything to prove to yourself or to anyone, do you?
no, no. And as a matter of and that's why I went back to college. You know, I went back to school, and that was a weird experience because,
What are you taking?
well, history's always been my fascination. Like
That's right. We
growing up
talked
in
about
England.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I figured I would get. The thing is, when you're taking 2 classes at a time, and I went to a couple of years at University of Oregon, but I didn't transfer with a couple of years of credits. I had a lot of withdrawals and absentee, did not complete and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. When you're taking two classes per term, it's going to take me 12 years to graduate. So right now I'm a declared history major, but I don't know. I also played with the idea of maybe getting like a teaching degree or something to teach history. But that's so far down the line, I don't have to really think about that all too much. But it was fun to go back. But it was real interesting because everything's computerized nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, when I last went to college, you had like a card and you would stand in the gym and you would go to whatever class you wanted and they would stamp your card.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got very good with the help center at the university. They knew me by name because I kept on going, and how do I find my, you know, my student number and how do I register for this? And they're like, is this Greg? Yeah, it's Greg. Yeah, it's me. Of course it's me. You know, I haven't been to school in 30 years. So, you know, that was a learning experience. Playing with the Ulas was a learning experience after playing drums. Like, where does the guitar plug into? You know, what pedal makes it do this? So I like learning experiences, and the biggest learning experience now. It's even taken over from music, at least temporarily for me, is that I'm doing a documentary, and I've never made a documentary before, but I'm doing a documentary on a polka drummer.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's something that I didn't mean to start out to do, but it snowballed, and so that's my passion right now.
That's great. Now you haven't been playing, but are you still buying drums? Because I remember your collection. Yeah, baby. Look at that. Glenn Miller, really?
No, it's not Glenn Miller. It's Hermel's Green Mill Bar.
Oh, Green Mill Bar. I see it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it really quickly. I hope we got a little bit of time. I'll try to tell it as fast as I can. But the reason I got into this polka documentaries because I collect bass drums, like you just said. And so
Yeah.
I went to a guitar store near my house, a guitar store, and in the back they had a bass drum, and all dusty, and I had to dig for it. And it was a big, like parade drum, bass drum, like a
Yeah.
big marching one, and
Yeah.
it said the Black Knights, Cliff Hermel, St. Peter, Minnesota. So I bought it, and then I typed in Cliff Hermel's name, and it turns out that he's a Hall of Fame polka drummer who also owned the Gibbon Ballroom in
Wow.
Gibbon, Minnesota, which is a rural, tiny town of 800 people, like an hour and a half from here. But his ballroom had 6 different dance floors on it, and they would, in the summer he would have a week of polka. It was called the Granddaddy of them all.
Wow.
And they would have up to 20 to 30,000 people show up for the week, and
That's crazy.
all the fields around were surrounded by RVs because everyone would drive in RVs.
Wow.
And this little town swelled to 20 to 30,000 people every year for this festival.
Wow.
We also ran the Youth Drum Corps, which is what the Black Knights was, which is So while I'm doing this research, the first picture that pops up, people could do this now, is the Gibbon Ballroom in 1975, one of the bars, and behind the bar are 3 bass drums hung on the wall, and one of them's mine in 1975. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could try to find the other 2 in the picture and reunite them? And then so I hit next on the next image of the Gibbon Ballroom, and it's the same shot, but the photographer had walked back 30 feet, and there's like 11, 12 bass drums on the whole wall that's not in the picture.
Wow.
So I went, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to find all of those, but I have. I found them all.
What?
Yeah. Well, that sounds pretty spectacular. The reason why I found them is that all of them were bought when Cliff Hermel died, and then they sold his estate. They were all bought by friends and family who loved him so much they wanted a piece of him.
Yeah.
So none of them traveled from the local area, but mine did, because mine came up to Minneapolis.
Somehow. Yeah.
So the documentary tells that story, but it's also the story of small rural towns dying and polka dying, and the story of the greatest generation, the people that danced at these ballrooms, all were returning home from war and just wanted some peaceful time with with a loved one. And in the process, I now have bought 3 of the bass drums in the photo, and that's one of them there, but in the back.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Greg, that is really cool to endeavor to preserve this part of history that basically would be completely forgotten otherwise. And it's significant. 20 to 30,000 people in this little town. Who would have known, huh?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is really, the records they produce, it's also a story of independent records. These bands, there was a guy, Jerry Menard, in his basement was a tape recording studio in the 70s, and they all recorded there. All of these records were pressed independently and sold at the ballrooms or out of the trunks of the cars. It's a whole and now it's almost forgotten. Some of the people that I've interviewed for this documentary have since passed on. It's like the stories are ending. And so like I said, I didn't mean to start the documentary. I just started filming people and talking because I was interested. But it's also a German immigrant story because Cliff's family came from Germany, and so that's my passion right now, and it's been stopped in part because of COVID as well. COVID, stopped stuff. Yeah. And I've never made a documentary. I just figured if I keep filming stuff, I'll find people that will allow me, that will do the editing and to help me do that side of it. But right now, I'm only out there with my little camera, just filming these people in their kitchens. And
that's excellent, Greg. Bless you for doing that. I look forward to the end result. Yeah. Well, as you see, we got to kind of wrap this up, and I got to go to the little boys' room. Damn it, with my old ass. But Greg, it's great to see you. It's so good to see you, and man, I'm so glad that we hooked up. I enjoyed playing with you. I enjoyed the show that we did together and the recording we did.
Yeah.
I recently reconnected with my older cousin Leroy, who lives in Minneapolis, up on Hennepin Avenue.
Oh, no way. That's right.
Yeah, right by you. Okay, because
if you're ever up.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He just stayed with me. He came down here. He's 84. And so it's like, I got to go see him soon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, so you'll be hearing from me.
Yeah, dude, you're welcome to stay at our place. We got plenty of room. The boys and Ellie would love to see you.
I'd love to see them as well.
I wanted to use this one thing. I got to say,
yes,
I got to plug something. My friend in Portland is opening a vinyl store on
Yeah.
July 22nd. It's called the Record Pub. They serve beer and it's vinyl.
Right on.
And he's my best friend, so I have to plug this. The Record
You-
Pub in Portland, Oregon.
Everybody get out there. Everybody out there in Portland. And I got friends out there, so they're hearing this, and they're record collectors, so they're going to be going out and giving them their money.
I like it. I like it a lot. We got to help each other, you know.
We do. Greg, it's great to see you.
Good to see you too, Dereck. I hope I can see you in person sometime soon.
Seriously, me too. You take care now. Give the boys a hug for me and Ellie too, okay?
I will for sure. I will.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.